Buenos Dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a snowflake with a gun habit. Bye, bye. Literally. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. Thank you. I'm very humbled. Now, there's been a lot of people, a lot of content creators, a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation, a lot of people conversing about the situation that happened at Old Folsom Prison. Now, anytime anything happens at Old Folsom Prison, which is far and few between, it's not like back in the days when it was rocking, right? When it was level 4 hardcore max custody, the convicts were real convicts. To me, back in the days, there was 3 prisons that historically you were considered a straight up convict if you did time. One was Dwell Vocational Institution, Tracy, where a lot of the group segments and organizations were formed and the foundation was set because that was actually a prison where youngsters went. And so, they were kicking up dust, YA babies, rocking and all that, right? Second was San Quentin, being the oldest prison in the state of California. San Quentin, right, is considered to have housed the who's who of who the fuck are they, the real ones, right? And then, of course, Old Folsom. Old Folsom has a lot of history behind it. It's one of the oldest prisons in America, right? And not only is it that, it's one of the most well-recognized and known because of the Johnny Cash, album that made it recognized around the world. And then just some of the treachery and dangerous situations that have come from that prison. In American Me, the movie was based off of Folsom Prison and Chino Prison. So, there's definitely a lot of history there, even more so than Hollywood, just in real life. People have done time in Old Folsom. And when you see these guys, they literally get it tattooed on them. Old Folsom Rays, been to Old Folsom circa fucking 18 whatever, right? They just been there. Now, Old Folsom hit the headlines the other day, and people were tripping. It is now a lower custody prison, more so medium custody, level 2, 3 yards. But it's still traditionally always has been and probably always will be one of the prisons that only houses, when it comes to the Mexican faction, Paisas and Southsiders. There have been Norteños in Old Folsom, don't get it twisted, but it has always been considered a stronghold for the Southsider group. Okay, the California Southsiders in prison are probably considered the most dangerous and treacherous group that I've ever been around. Okay, functioning as a Norteño gang member in and out of prison, conducting myself in a northern fashion with the northern raza, I could say as a group, we moved very militant. We were in opposition of the Southsiders, but we were always at a half 60 or always kept our awareness up because we knew just how dangerous those individuals were and are. Okay? Nothing has stopped. Nothing changes. The politics, the inner workings of the Southsider community within prison, man, is crazy. Okay, you see them do, which they don't call them removals, they call them pegadas or checkings or just straight up fucking killings at a fucking alarming rate. Within this last few years, since the end of hostilities, when I feel and other content creators that feel that the administration are placing these inmates, these convicts with the opposing team, meaning they'll put GP with SNY, SNY with GP, and they'll just mix it up. They're doing this, and we know why they're doing this. They're doing this so that when they do go back to the court system after losing that unprecedented case with the whole end of hostilities thing and the hunger strikes, that they're weaponizing themselves. They're putting weapons in their own hands. Their weapons is they're going to be able to show all these vicious and violent attacks that have happened and happen at an alarming rate, mostly with the Southsiders, but it happens with every group, right? They're going to show, and it's going to be their justification and their reasoning for why they want the SHU reopened, several SHUs reopened, maybe even implement new SHU programs, security housing units, and why these inmates basically have lost control and it's anarchy within the prison system. Does it look that way? It does from the outside looking in. But only those that are doing time understand or should understand exactly what the administration is doing. It's like handing someone a gun and telling them, hey, nah, don't rob that store with all that money, right? What do you think that's going to go through their mind? I got the fucking weapon. I got the time. There's air. There's opportunity. And I'm going to go ahead and get that, right? They're weaponizing these guys. They're allowing them to be on the yards, to go right back to the yards after they're doing killings. And it's crazy. So I got asked a question. I did not do a video on the dude getting fucking whacked in Old Folsom, right? Now, I seen Rascal and Dubs did a video. Shout out to Rascal and Dubs, man. They did pretty extensive and great videos. Dubs gave you his perspective. As always, Rascal, homie hangout, got very analytical, man, and broke it all the way down. In fact, he broke it down so much that one of your favorite YouTube content creators who immediately jumped the gun and put out a video and got it all wrong, right? Had to double back and literally make an apology video saying he got it wrong. Well, kudos to you for apologizing. You don't apologize much. There's a lot of things you should apologize about, but whatever. We're going to keep it pushing, right? I'm going to let you guys figure out who that content creator is, but he got it wrong. Rascal got it right. Dubs got it right. And I'm about to get it right as well. In that situation, you had an SNY inmate that was placed with active gang members on the general population yard. Now, ain't nothing new. When it comes to level 1 and level 2 yards, this has been happening for years prior to the California model, prior to this new thing that CDCR is doing by integrating these guys and, just controlling them and having them be on these yards together, these programming yards, right? That's the title they gave them, programming yards. Yet they put guys that they know cannot program together because of the governing that goes on in the prison. See, you need to understand this. The prison runs the prison, but the inmates run the asylum, right? So there's going to be rules that could get your canteen took. There's going to be rules that could get your package took, get your visits took. And then there's going to be rules like Dub says that can get your life taken and took, right? Those are the rules that I'm going to adhere to while locked up. Okay, the rules that are going to make me breathe less. Off with your head. According to Mohawk Mike, the ones that are going to get you decapitated right on the yard for 20 minutes on the black side of the yard with no gunners watching. That's the ones that I'm watching out for, right? And no fantasy here. Whatever the case may be, this guy went to Old Folsom. He was placed in Old Folsom, okay? And he was whacked, meaning he was stabbed numerous times. Within the hour, he succumbed to the injuries. 2 guys that are extremely considered active Southside gang members were apprehended at the scene, snatched up, taken to the oil. Are they still in the hole? They'll probably be in the hole for a couple more days before they're kicked back out into the yard, because we all know now this new California model and the way that they're doing it is it doesn't matter how many bodies you catch, they're going to just re-release you to the yard. Now, they won't be re-released to that particular yard because that's a lower level yard. They will probably be charged with the murder of this guy, and they will be shipped because their points will elevate. They'll jump. They'll be shipped to either a 3-4 yard or a 4 yard. Now, they were not SNY inmates. They were GP, general population inmates, but they housed that SNY inmate or an inmate that was in the past in the SNY right there in general population. They figured it was a 1 or a 2 yard, wasn't nothing cracking. They were gravely mistaken. Mistakes happen. This is just what it is. So I was asked a question. That's pretty much how that went down. There was a lot of people that were concerned because one of the guys was in the beginning, it was put out by social media and by the news articles that he only had 2 years and he flipped 2 to 20. And that's what we used to call it, flipping 2 to 20. That was not the case. He was not a violator. He wasn't just doing 2 years. The guy was already doing 20 years. Not that it matters. Doesn't matter how much time someone's doing. I've seen guys at the gate just about to get off where they're mad at. I've seen youngsters. I've told a story of the homie from Stockton, Blaze, come in. He was doing 18 months. He was going to go to a level 1 or 2 yard. I was running him down in the medical facility at Tracy. We were right there going to get our blood drawn and shit. I was chopping it up with him and the homeboy boy from fucking Gilas. And the little youngster, I was trying to give him the game. I was like, don't even trip, bro. And he was very active and very aggressive. Like, he wanted to be in the mix. And I was telling him, nah, bro, don't even trip like that. It ain't that serious. Go do your little fucking knick-knack, paddywhack time and get on out, bro. Get back to your peoples. And he was like, bro, I'm willing to raise my hand for this and that. And I said, not me. Shit, fuck, no, not me. I just want to do my time and get out. I ain't raising my hand for shit. I've already rose my hand several times in and out of prison. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to rock if I got to defend the household. But if I don't, then I won't, man. I'm just going to chill, do time, eat sopita, do some push-ups and some burpees, unfortunately, and kick it with the homies. That's prison for me. Now, if I have to defend the household and get involved, then I will at a high level. But I'm not intrigued to do that because I know with that only comes misery. And there's a lot of miserable motherfuckers that love company. And believe me, they'll keep you company if you keep them company. Hey, you want a hug? They'll give you a hug. A shoulder shrug, a mean mug, and a slug. No donuts, right? That's just how it is. So after giving him that rundown, he still involved himself in a pegada, a removal, and he caught life in prison. And now he's somewhere in the prison system right now watching this video on his tablet, like, because that's him. And unfortunately, as an OG at the time, considered an OG, I've never liked that. You know, I feel old and shit. My shit's great. But understanding the gang and how it works, right? I was just trying to bless the little homie with some fucking knowledge you couldn't get in college. Guard! Some real game. But instead, in the meantime, in between time, he didn't listen. His old house were shut, right? And he did what he did, and now he'll never see his family for the rest of his life, at least not behind some glass or in a visiting room without that. And that's unfortunate. Anyways, I digress. He's locked up forever. These types of things happen continuously. But I was asked a question. And the question I was asked, who's the most vicious and violent group in prison? And who's catches the most bodies? And since this whole California model and since this whole thing cracked off, who has caught the most bodies in prison? Okay. Well, for the first part of the question, who's the most violent, vicious gang in prison? All of them. All of them. Okay? Hey, it's as violent as they want it to be that day. Every different program that is ran from each different group segment is a violent one. Okay? There's rules and regulations to this shit. There's politics that you must adhere to. I say that, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it's the Southerners, or it's the blacks, or it's the whites, or it's the Northerners. Look, every different group is different. Okay, they got different politics, different rules, different ways they move, different looks, different stilo. But at the end of the day, every single group has bodies. Every single group will get violent. Now, of course, some groups are deeper than the others. You know, when you go into the California system, the Southsiders are going to be about 100, 150 on a yard. The Paisa is going to be about 20, 30. The Northerners is going to be about 20, 30. Okay, the whites are going to be about 30, 40. Blacks are going to be about 200, 300. Now, you got to understand that blacks are fragmented into different groups. So they're not all together like that unless it becomes a race thing. But, and even then, some of them fucking that are non-affiliates still won't even participate in that. And some will. That's just a fact, right? But the Southsiders amongst the Mexicans, and you can even throw the whites in there, are considered one of the most violent and dangerous groups because they are the deepest and because they are bred to do that. See, violence is second nature to them. Same thing with Northerners. Northerners being a little bit more structured and militant. You know, there's times when I received huilas from those that it should be received from, right? Where it's like no weaponry to be used, or we need to establish that yard or keep that yard. So fucking we're not doing removals right now unless someone comes that just cannot be there, right? We're not pushing issues, or we're not doing it. Just this was all because that yard we needed to function on that yard. Because one thing about the Northerners, there's very few of them, and I haven't forgot the Bulldogs, but they're segregated, so I don't really count them. And you don't really hear of Bulldogs fucking killing each other left and right. It's not really happening. It does happen. They do removals from time to time, but it's not as consistent as the Southsiders and Northerners and whites, right? So, I've been in that mix where I was involved in that, and it just was, we needed to establish that yard or keep that yard, and that's just what it was. I never questioned anything. I never asked why. I already knew why, because that's just what a Norteño does. You know what I mean? It's everything that a Norteño strive for was for the betterment of his people and for social status of equality. The only way we can get equality and be on that yard was to stay on that motherfucker, right? So, you know, 9 times out of 10, when you back in the days when you did pegadas and removals and all this, you're going to catch a new case and you're going to go to the shoe forever. You're going to get validated, and that's going to be that. You're lucky if you don't get validated, but it happens, right? It used to. Nowadays, they validate you, they take your picture and send you back to your cell. Back then, a lot of people were fighting their validation packets that they would get from Sacramento because that was the difference between being on that yard or never seeing that yard again for the rest of your life. It's different now. Now they just take a picture of you, put you in the scratch pad, But what it does hinder is your ability to move freely without eyes on you. Now that you're on that lease stop for being validated as a prison gang member, what happens, or being an associate of a prison gang member, what happens is they're watching everything you do. They're tapping your tablet. They're on you, because they don't want you. They already got you. You're validated. You're just basically, that's about it. What they want is they got bigger fish to fry. They want to know who you're talking to, who you're associating with. They want the big dogs, right? Fresno shit. They want the big dogs. Now, part 2 to the question that I was asked was, who's the most violent? Who's caught the most bodies this year? Well, that'll be the Southerners, the California Prison Southsiders, that group, right? Them guys. And I'll say why. SNY Gang. And I'll say why. Whatever is in the water out there in Salinas Valley, in Corcoran, in High Desert, in Pleasant Valley. Well, not Pleasant Valley, not as much, right? But they've done some shit. New Folsom, those Calipatria, all these prisons, Centinela, they're rocking. They stay rocking. And those are heavily other than Salinas Valley and probably Pleasant Valley, which Salinas Valley has an abundance of Norteños there. There's a lot of Southsiders there, but there's probably more Northerners there. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know. But Southsiders are deep everywhere, and they're doing a lot of internal cleanup, man. There's a lot of shit happening. And just like a Norteño, man, a Southsider and Norteño will not function with what they consider trash, what they consider a dropout or a non-active gang member or a PC or whatever name they want to give them. They just can't. They can't function with them. And so, being that there's so many Southsiders in the CDC, you got them on level 1s, on level 2s, on level 3s, on level 4s, 270 buildings, 180s. They're everywhere, okay? And they're the deepest group as far as one gang. Not the blacks are always going to be deeper because there's more of them than there are Mexicans, right, in the system. But because you have that one group, they're so deep, you're always going to hear about murders. They're doing it in larger quantities. Not to minimize nothing, because it's not hyphy to do a murder, right? But it happens. With the Norteños, you hear about it less often, but they do a lot of removals. It does crack off a lot. For the numbers that they have, the murder game is real. But I would say for every 3 or 4 Southsider, or maybe even 5 murders that they commit in the prison system, then you have 1 Norteño murder. Whites are up there too, 2 to 3 ratio. They're doing their thing. The brothers, man, it's very limited. You don't see it as often. But lately, I've been noticing, man, prisons are on fire. Even the brothers are killing some shit, which is very rare. Not to say they don't, because there's going to be, you're racist. They kill too. They kill too. I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm here to tell you, at the numbers, analytically, watching, the Southsiders are killing more shit than everybody. Consistently, all the time. And it's because of their numbers, and it's because of the way that they are brought up. And to them, in the California prison system, that's what's expected of you. Okay, same thing with the Norteños. It's expectation. Look, there was a murder that happened in Salinas Valley. I watched the video. A lot of us have. And it was actually a homeboy from my neighborhood, right? Rest in peace to the little homie. He got whacked. It was probably the most brutal prison stabbing I ever seen in my life, in that high definition, right? I mean, these guys went all out. And the story behind it is tragic, because it could have been, this whole thing could have been avoided. But I guess they felt that it was necessary to lay a demo down, but not even more so than that. That's just how they felt that day. That's what was deemed. That was what was down the pipe. Like, hey, this is what needs to happen because of this infraction. And it was merely an infraction. Something that on the streets, within the gang, it probably would have been a DP as well. Like, hey, homie, why are you fraternizing with this group or that group or whatever he was into? But still, at the same time, I didn't think it was called for to kill him the way they did. The overkill game, right? Anyways, that's the way it went down. And that right there got a lot of people to look and say, wow, right? These guys are no joke. Okay. And because it was Norteños, a lot of people were like, wow, there was a lot of Southerners that got at me. They were like, we didn't know you guys moved like that, or that they got down like that. And I said, first of all, there is no you guys. I'm not part of that group. I respect it. I enjoyed it while I did. And then and some things I didn't. But one thing I would tell you is every man that has it in him to kill someone does that. Now, the way that the prison system is right now, because they're just kicking people back out to the yard, you're not doing an indeterminate shoe. You're not even doing a very long shoe, or I don't even know if they have people doing shoes, period, right? You used to go at the minimum, do an 18-month shoe, do a quick turnaround, you're back out on the yard, or you move to another yard because of your points. Nowadays, they just kick you out in a week or two. Even if you got pending fucking murder cases, and these dudes already got the bloodlust, they got that dark fucking look in their eyes, they already got blood in their hands, they're out there doing it over and over and over again. You know, same perfect example was a couple white dudes, right? One, the dude from the dropout gang, Nuestro Cosa, that went out there, and him and that dude from the other Southsider dude, they went out there and they killed that dude while he was chained up in New Folsom to his, in the day room. And then he double backed and killed another dude with the sex offender. You know what I mean? That's just how they did it together, canalito. And that was a wild case. No one even focused on that his crime partner was a wild dude. They were killing a dude for having weird charges, and his crime partner had weird charges. I guess his didn't count. But that guy went back onto the yard after just less than a year and did another murder. And then you had the white dude that was running around New Folsom killing everything in sight. He caught 3 murders in less than 3 months. It just is what it is. But when asked the question, who's the most consistent now with everything that's happened, it's the Southsiders, man, period. They caught more bodies than any other group, man, and that's just what it is. And I'm not trying to expose them or exploit them or put them out there. It's in the news all the time, man. They're doing it at an alarming rate, and every group that's committing these murders, man, is helping. I understand there's in prison because of politics, you have to do what you have to do. I understand that. I'll never not understand it. I've done time, right? But with what the CDCR is trying to do, they're playing right into their hands. The more kills that they get, the more vicious and violent. That's why they let the little homie from my neighborhood, they let it go so long and be as violent as possible, because they're going to use that to show, look at how out of control these guys are. This is why we need an area to slam them. Do I believe in the shoe? I do. Do I believe in indeterminate shoe programs? I don't. You should not snatch a man up, validate him, and lock him up just because you think he's from an organization, or you think he's from a group, or you may even know he's from a group. That doesn't mean he's out there doing rule infractions. Let that man do his time. If he fucks up, yeah, he can do a little bit of time. But indeterminates, that's inhumane. I don't believe someone should be locked slammed in the back for the rest of their life because they had a conversation with someone or they associated with someone. I don't believe that, right? Shoes, though, I do understand that when you do fucking commit a crime like a murder or whatever, you should sit down a little while and reassess the situation and get your equilibrium back. Just to keep releasing these bloodthirsty people right back to the yard, they're going to just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it. And like I said, it's working right out for the CDCR. So to answer the questions, the Southsiders are probably the most vicious group that I've ever been around in prison. Not saying the Norteños weren't, because you've seen the videos, and the blacks and the whites and everybody, right, are crazy. In fact, the whites, man, they got the craziest knives. But that's neither here nor there. But I'll say, as far as the prison community, the Southsiders are killing more shit than everybody. That's a fact. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you guys to go tap into the collective clips today. I'm going to be dropping some supers. Like and subscribe if you don't know about that channel. It's my secondary channel. Also, I want you to go support the homeboy on the Dubs and the Dub S and the Dub S World channel, man. Go show the homeboy some love. Give him a like or something, man. You always got to look out for your boys. That's facts. The gun.